What's going on, guys? So I wanted to give you guys a quick update on the golf cart we recently got. So this is that rebuilt golf cart. This thing is a 2006 model, and a bunch of college kids, actually two brothers that are joining the Army as officers, took this thing on as a rehabilitation project. They essentially purchased it from the Navy, who sold it to them as a stripped down, really rusty, beat up chassis. They scrubbed all the rust off, finished the whole thing off, rhino lined the whole thing. Super cool. We did a few things. I added the armrests with cup holders to it, added this nice little grab handle to get on the back, got a different charger for it. They gave me a charger, but the charger they gave me is this huge clunky thing, and I got a smart charger for it. We added the rear view mirror up here, as well as the two side rear view mirrors. This thing's looking really nice. What do you guys think? I know I have this cover that we put over it as well, which gives us the ability to take it out even if it's nasty outside, or if it's cold, or if it's raining, or any other type of scenario that we might encounter. Very cool. We didn't pay much for it either. Paid about 1/3 of what it would cost to buy one new. The thing's in immaculate shape. Let me open it up so you can see inside of it. Again, here is the rear view mirror. Got the two side mirrors. Interior's a little dirty, but it's actually really nice. Made this cool little spacer off the back so my wife's back could actually reach the seat cushion. This thing was really far back, and it was even difficult for me to reach the back cushion while still operating it, so I used some spare lumber I had, and I made a big spacer back there, so now there's plenty of room. A little Bluetooth speaker mounted on the side there. Looks like I need to secure it. Very cool. What do you guys think? Anyways, off to the rest of the video. So we're back here at the property. We actually went up to San Antonio this weekend, spent time with our oldest daughter, who will be taking her boards to become a doctor in February of 2023. So we're super excited about that. We spent time in downtown San Antonio, went up to the top of Tower of Americas, which is that really tall Space Needle type tower that they have in San Antonio. Went up to the Hemisphere, or I think they've renamed it now, but we went to the rotating restaurant at the top. If you've never been to San Antonio, definitely encourage you to visit that if you go there. It's actually probably one of the most beautiful cities in the country, and if you haven't had a chance to go to San Antonio, you're definitely missing out. So definitely put it on your to-do list if you're going to be traveling around the country, or even if you're in Texas and you haven't had a chance to go there. But that said, yeah, we had a great time over there. Had a chance to come back just to see how much progress isn't being made on the property out here, but that is no fault of anybody's. It's just the process whenever you're getting a building constructed. So we had the folks come out who are going to be doing the concrete work, the dirt work, all of that stuff. Went ahead and kind of put exactly into motion the process of where everything's going to go, how the doors are going to go. They took elevation to see if they had to bring any dirt in. Thankfully they won't. It's going to be really cool. The building's going to be right here pretty soon, and it's going to be fun. That said, the bulk of this video is going to be a response to a comment that was left on my other channel. I told you guys that I wanted to kind of rehash the whole BTBRV rants kind of segments where I would go over some of the comments and suggestions and things, and I'd talk about them in my BTBRV Life channel. So that's what I'm going to do. One of the most commonly asked questions that I get is generally related to, do I need a dually to tow my fifth wheel? A lot of times I'll show some really large fifth wheels, and I usually reference the length, the width, the size, the pin weight, all of that, and put a recommendation on the type of truck I'd recommend towing it. And oftentimes, if it's a very large fifth wheel, I'll say that I highly recommend a dually. So I get folks who leave comments, and they're genuinely wondering, do I really need a dually? Because there's a lot of single rear wheel 1-ton trucks, and even 3/4-ton trucks now, that the manufacturers have increased the gross vehicle weight rating numbers so high that the payload capacity is there to be able to haul large trailers. So, you can easily go out and find an F350 single rear wheel truck, or a Chevy or GMC single rear wheel 1-ton truck that has over 4,000 pounds worth of cargo capacity. And if you have an RV that only has, 3,000 pounds worth of pin weight that'll transfer to the back of your truck, do you really need a dually? And the answer is, maybe. You might need a dually if some things matter to you more than others. Let me give you an example. If you care about redundancy, 3,000 pounds is 1.5 tons, and that's a lot of weight. And when that weight is resting over the back of your truck and you have a rear tire blowout, it can be pretty catastrophic. I've seen a lot of accidents that have occurred because a back tire blows out and the driver of the vehicle, either through inexperience or just through surprise, doesn't have the ability to react the way that they would like to, or to be able to take control of the vehicle in the way that they would like to counter what's happening and to be able to correct what's happening. So if you have a back tire blowout and you have 3,000 pounds of weight in the bed of your truck pushing down on it, instantly your axle is going to want to hit the ground. It's going to want to hit as hard as it can. It's going to drop, and your truck's going to want to pull. And depending on how the truck pulls and how much room you have in the lanes you're driving on, especially let's say you're in a construction zone and you have, concrete barriers on each side of the road and you only have a couple feet of space on each side, you may not have the room you need to counter steer and correct what's taking place with that weight over the bed of your truck. So having a dually with an extra set of tires in the back can be really helpful and give you that confidence and peace of mind, because if you do have a tire blowout in the back, it's likely that the other tire will be able to sustain the load until you're able to pull over and do whatever you need to do. So that's a really, really good argument for folks who are looking for that extra confidence whenever they're towing, to know that if something like that were to occur, you have a little bit of a fail-safe. You have a little bit of redundancy baked into a dually that you just don't have with a single rear-wheel truck. Now, if you have a front tire blowout, well, it's going to kind of be the same, except a dually, again, will still help keep the trailer a little bit more stable in those scenarios. Yes, you're going to have to know how to react. You're going to have to know not to panic and slam the brakes on and do things like that. Actually, on the way back from San Antonio, we witnessed a pretty bad accident. Somebody who owned a Grand Design Solitude fifth wheel had ran into the ditch. We don't know how it happened. It was on the opposite lanes. The RV had clearly flipped on its side, and they were in the process of lifting it back up onto its wheels. It honestly didn't look like it sustained too crazy damage, but there was clearly, something that occurred that caused the truck to veer off the road. And in my opinion, it was likely a front right side tire blowout, but I don't know, because of, again, the angles of everything and how fast we were going by, we really couldn't see what exactly took place. So understanding how to respond to those scenarios when they occur is really important. Knowing if you have enough room to actually respond to those scenarios is really important, and having the most confidence in terms of your setup can also really factor into that. So again, if you have a dually, you have 2 extra tires in the back. It's like having dual axles on your trailer. A single axle, you have 1 tire blowout, you could be in a lot more dangerous situation than if you have dual axles and you have the ability for one of your trailer tires to be able to carry the load of that side of the RV in the event of a tire blowout. So, do you need a dually? No, you probably don't absolutely need a dually. Is it nice to have a dually if you have a significant amount of weight resting over the back of your vehicle and you want that peace of mind and redundancy, especially if you're going to be traveling a lot? That's where my recommendations come into play here. That's why I generally will recommend a dually. Yes, there's going to be more stability. You have more traction physically touching the ground. So in terms of reducing the chance that your trailer is going to control the vehicle, you have more contact to the ground, more surface contact than you would have with just 2 tires. So it's going to give you more stability and more control inherently. You're going to have firmer suspension. So the suspension, even though the payload capacities of these single rear wheel trucks are much, much higher than they've ever been, you're going to have more suspension capability out of a dually than you will out of a single rear wheel truck. The suspension is firmer. It's not going to move or be dictated by the pin weight as much as a single rear wheel truck. Single rear wheel trucks are definitely going to be more comfort oriented. They're going to have a smoother back, softer, more compliant suspension than a dually. Dually trucks, I'm not going to lie, when you're not towing with them, they can beat you up. They can be very firm. They cannot be the smoothest ride, and that is a turnoff for a lot of folks, along with the extra width and the lack of maneuverability, unless you have a 450. So if you need a single rear wheel truck, yes, you can have the payload capacity now spec'd out on a lot of single rear wheel 1 tons and even some 3/4 ton vehicles to be able to handle the weight that you're going to be putting over the back. But does that necessarily mean that it's the right truck for your towing application? It may, or it may not. A single rear wheel truck may be perfect for you. You may not tow that much, or you may feel perfectly confident, or you may be such a stickler on tire condition that the chances of a tire blowout are much lower than they might be for someone who doesn't pay as close attention. So it really comes down to your personal confidence. For me, You know, I just love an F450. That's just first and foremost. Secondly, I love the confidence-inspiring nature of having 2 additional tires in the back in the event one does fail. That's really, really nice. I love the extra stability. I love the extra traction that's actually applied to the ground because of that much larger contact patch. And I love the firmer suspension. I know for a fact that when I lower the 3,400 pounds worth of pin weight I have onto the back of my truck, it's going to handle it better than a single rear wheel truck would, simply because of the much thicker, larger leaf spring pack that's on the truck. Anyways, I sure hope you enjoyed this little segment. Just wanted to go over it real quickly with you before we jump to some of the other stuff that we're going to be doing a little bit later, and hopefully you enjoyed the answer to this question. Please leave comments on my other videos. Please leave comments here, and I will use this channel to also answer some of those questions as they come up. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.